Hello there, thank you so much for stopping by. My name is ChitChad. Welcome back to another episode of Planet Coaster, where we are making a Super Mario theme park. So real quick, you're probably wondering, hey, I thought this episode was going to be about the Wario castle and the animations involved with said castle, and I'm almost done. It's been a lot more work than I originally anticipated because it's essentially 4 videos worth of content. One being the Planet Coaster part of things, the second being Wario's animation, third being Waluigi's animation, and the fourth is a 3D animation that I'm using for the coin and background elements. So technically it's 4 videos worth of content, and I am at the part where I'm compositing all of the things together, which takes a little bit of work. So I'm nearly done, and I am pretty confident that I should be doing that on the next episode. It's just trying to get all those videos out and rendered and coinciding with each other because they are going to be split between my animation channel and this channel, and just trying to make sure all of that is in line with each other was just a bit more work than I originally anticipated, but we are very close to being done. So for this episode, I was really inspired by the new vintage pack, which I didn't do a Discover video for just because time and so many other videos had already been posted about it, and I was just like, I'm pretty sure everyone knows what's in the vintage pack by now. And I felt like while a lot of the elements of the vintage pack were really interesting, I didn't feel like there was as much content this time around as opposed to the Studios pack or the Spooky pack. So I just decided that it would probably be just easier to start working with some of the new pieces, which I do not only in this park, but also in my Studios park, especially with those new light up letter signs. Oh, those things are so great. I love them. But getting off topic here. This particular ride system really inspired me, and I was thinking of how I could incorporate it with the Mario Park, and an idea sprung in my mind back in the Mario 64 games. The first snow level that you go to, you do a penguin kind of bobsledding race, and I thought that would be really fun to make as a ride. And I've played Mario 64. Out of all the Mario games, I think I've played 64 and Sunshine the most, and especially the 64 version that was on the DS, where you could play as Yoshi, Luigi, and Wario alongside with Mario. So I just thought this would be really fun and a good opportunity to use one of the new ride systems that Planet Coaster added. So I just said, why not, and went for it. Now, I've watched several videos of this ride, or this ride system in real life, and I've never personally have ridden on one, though. It looks like quite the experience, and you'll see as we go along that I'm going to be adjusting this a lot because it's really different compared to any of the other ride systems or types of rides that Planet Coaster has available. So you're going to see me mess with it quite a lot because I didn't have a solid understanding of exactly how it works, especially when it comes to blocking sections and doing multiple chain lifts. And originally I tried to do a second chain lift, but for whatever reason it just wasn't letting me, and I think it was just because I didn't have enough length of track in order for it to transition properly. So you'll see towards the end of the video, or towards the later part of this video, we do add a second section to this ride that will allow for additional block sections. And I did cut quite a bit from this video, just because the amount that I recorded was several hours, and I didn't want this to be like a 45-minute video. So you will see that I jump around a lot, especially when it comes to terraforming, because I do add some tunnels and eventually do add some mountains around this, because I essentially want it to be semi-contained, so it looks like you're kind of going through all this snowy mountain terrain without it being encapsulating too many times. Originally, I wanted this to be semi-indoor, so that we can allow for theming elements, and I might still do that when it comes time to work on this project again. But for now, it's just trying to figure out the layout of the track and making it interesting, because this area of the park is actually going to be elevated slightly higher than the rest of the park, and I did that for one of 2 reasons. One, I wanted to work with more elevation just because I haven't done that yet. And second, when you see the Princess Peach's castle from right when you walk in, I want it to appear much taller than it actually is going to be. And one way of doing that more effectively is to raise literally this entire section of the park to be higher up than everything else. And so doing that, and also allowing me to kind of separate things out a little bit more. So we are going to have, we already have the Toad Town and the Yoshi area. We have the Luigi's Mansion area. So this is going to be like a mini section. It's going to be the winter park. I might incorporate some other winter snow level elements to this. I'm definitely going to be making some of those penguins from Mario 64 as characters. So if you all think of anything else from, regardless if it's from Mario 64 or even up to Mario Odyssey, which I have started playing on this channel, it's been a lot of fun. Jacob, my good friend Jacob's been joining me on that. So if you are interested in watching more Mario content, it's definitely fun. It's a fun series so far. I've been really enjoying it. Mario Odyssey is it's a heck of a game. It's beautiful. It's vibrant. The controls are super clean. I would say it's probably my new favorite Mario game, right alongside Super Mario Sunshine, which does lead me into a bit of housekeeping. And I brought up this topic before, and I don't like bringing it up a lot because it does seem like a complaint, but it's something that I have to bring up just for my own sanity and my own well-being. It's that I get a lot of messages when I upload things that aren't Planet Coaster related on my other videos, and I do get a lot of messages on my social media about, oh, why isn't this a Planet Coaster episode? Why aren't you uploading more Planet Coaster episodes? And after a while, it does become a bit of a bummer because I've never once said that I'm a Planet Coaster channel, only. I've always done other things. So if there aren't any Planet Coaster episodes, just because I want to do something different, I gotta do other things to keep the creative mind going. And sometimes just Planet Coaster takes a lot out of me. Just because I got to plan a lot of stuff and it's a lot of hours worth of recording. So sometimes I just want to be able to come home and record a fun game or draw or animate. So I'm always going to be doing other things. And I do apologize if that's not something you're interested in, but it's just, I can't just do one style of content for the rest of my creative output on YouTube. So I do apologize if that's something that isn't your cup of tea. But it's not going to change just because I got to do other things and this isn't my only output in life. I don't mean to come off negative or upset in any way. It's just something that I thought, I've brought it up in the past. So I got to bring it up again. Just when the messages get a little over the top, that's when I'm okay, maybe I got to say something again. Because like I said, I want to do stuff that's fun, that's creative. And sometimes Planet Coaster just isn't the thing. So I promise I will always work on episodes, but they might not always come out frequently. So I do promise that I'm always working on something, which right now my time's kind of split between this and I'm trying to work on my own animated series, which has been kind of in development longer than I'm willing to admit. It's been quite the undertaking, but it's one of those things I've put off for so long, or I've worked on and just never finished. And once it starts showing up in my Facebook feed of oh, look at this thing you worked on years ago, and I'm oh my gosh, really? So I've been really trying to buckle down and focus on that animated series. So my time is pretty split up at the moment, but you're going to start seeing a little bit of back and forth working on this station. I had a little bit of trouble with it at first, and I don't know why. I think originally I was trying to base it too closely on the house that was in Mario 64, and that house isn't terribly detailed because Mario 64 graphics aren't that detailed. Nintendo graphics, yeah, they're pretty simplistic. So I was running out of design ideas because they're just one texture, and I'm oh crap, how am I gonna make this work? So instead I started looking at more winter homes and alpine kind of areas to see what kind of architecture they use, the combination of brick and wood and support beams and stuff like that. And I think that's the inspiration that I really needed to kickstart the rest of this build, which I'm pretty happy with it. You'll see quite the process as we get closer to the end of this video, because we're not even at the halfway point yet. This is definitely a long video, which is why it's coming out later in the day, just because took a while to render. Good old-fashioned rendering. So I think this might be a good opportunity to read some of the Discord comments because I have quite a few. So let's take a look. Let's see. The first one, I want to make sure that I get some because I tend to accidentally skip a couple. All right, so the first one, I think this is the newest one. The first one's from Skelly. And they ask, hey, ChitChad, if you make a way to get around the Mario theme park quickly, why not use a subway that goes through pipes? That's actually a really good idea, and I've been thinking about that. Those pipes I had to make really large pipes for the Mario Kart area in my previous video game park. So those, I don't even think those would fit the subway. So if I do that, those pipes are going to have to be fairly large. But I really think that'd be a very cool aesthetic to see, like the monorail going through pipes. That would be really cool. You know, I think I might have to throw that in the... that's gonna go into the it's gonna happen pile for sure, because I really like that idea. Thank you so much. I appreciate your feedback. The next one is from Luke Stormhammer, who asks, you should build the Cheap Beach and add water rides. Yeah, I mean, I need to add more characters, and some of the ones from Cheap Beach would be really fun. And right now I am considering a water area, and it'll be a very small mini area, much like this winter one. Because I do want to add a water ride, and I think Super Mario Sunshine is the perfect venue for that, the perfect platform. So I think that's the game plan so far, but I might utilize elements from Cheap Beach, because I think there's a lot of fun to be had there. So thank you so much for your question. All right, the next one is from Robert0125, who asks, you should include your old creations in your new park as an Easter egg, like some old Pokemon figures or the Sonic Chili Dog restaurant. What do you think about that, and would you be willing to add it? Thank you so much for your question, Robert. So, for those of you that don't know, I did have a old video game theme park project, which I had to eventually can just because my computer rig at the time could not handle it. And it was crashing constantly. I was losing episodes left and right, and I was just getting frustrated to the point where, like, okay, it's apparent that I have to split this up into its own project. So that's when the Mario build became its own entity by itself. But the other ones that I worked on, there was a Sonic theme area, there was a Pokemon one, and then I was working on the Mario one. And both of those ideas, both the Sonic and the Pokemon ideas, are things that I would love to revisit at some point, just because there was a lot of ideas that I had to work around, because at the time there were no animated screens. There weren't even the DLCs weren't even out yet. You know, the Spooky and the Vintage and the what is it? Not the Adventure. Yeah, I think it was called Adventure, and the Studio. None of those were available yet. So there's a lot of ideas that I think would be better implemented if I were to start on them now. But I need to finish the Mario Park for sure first. As for like Easter eggs and cameos, I do want to add more of that kind of stuff. I think we already have some Pokemon elements in the park already in the form of the Amiibo stands, but I think there's opportunity to have more of those in the future. So thank you so much for your question. The next one is from the Very Hollow Porcupine, asks, would you consider making something related to the Mario and Luigi series or the Paper Mario series? Ooh, okay, so I haven't played any of the Mario Luigi like Superstar Saga stuff, but I have played Paper Mario, and I absolutely adore that series. The only problem is I can't think of, just as I said that, I think I came up with something, because I don't know how I'd be best able to implement like flat characters like that, but then like a photo area, like using them as little standees might be a fun opportunity. I'll just have to figure out a way to make that work, just because video screens don't allow for transparencies, which would be so awesome if they did. And what I mean by transparency is you can render things out, you know, through QuickTime or Media Encoder or Premiere, After Effects, whatever, to have a transparent background, same as like PNGs and GIFs. And it would be really awesome if there was a way that Planet Coaster could translate that and allow for transparencies, because then you could just have free-form walking characters, you know, and elements that pop from the background. Right now, I'm working on some ideas for the Luigi Mansion ride where it's using screen grabs from Planet Coaster itself, bringing that into After Effects and animating parts of it so it looks like objects are moving in the space, but it's just a screen. But the screen is utilizing graphics and assets from Planet Coaster itself, so it looks like it's in-game. And trying to work around that's been really interesting. So yeah, I'll think about that a little bit more. I'm not sure at the moment. The next question is from Shadink. Hey ChitChad, why not make a map for each park as a screen saying where people are? I know it would be a lot of work, but I just want to know your opinion on this idea. That's actually a great idea. It's something I've always planned on doing. I just need to get the parks in a more finished state before I can start making maps for them, because I think it'd be really fun to do a semi-stylized map where we'll take like an above screenshot of the park itself, and then I'll bring that into Photoshop and do like posterization and add cartoon effects to kind of give it that more illustrated look, much like what they do with, you know, Disney and Universal. It's not like a direct photo, it's an illustrated piece. So I think that'd be a really fun opportunity. I would just need to get the parks in a more ready state before I could do that. And I think that's also a good opportunity to make signs for like wait times, like you see at Universal Studios, where they have the boards where they have all the rides listed out with the wait times. And, you know, we can make that an animation so the times change every once in a while. I think that'd be a really fun opportunity. And I've also been considering doing something for my Patreon members where there's like a dedication plaque in the park somewhere that has their names on it. So I'm thinking of all those ideas, but it's always going to be when I'm further down the line on these projects, both this one and the studio park. So thank you for your question. I really do like that. All right, and I think the last one for today's episode is going to be from Paulsley, who asks, Chad, do you have any more footage from the Pokemon park? And the answer to that is I did originally. It was on my, way back when I just had one channel. And I was just uploading whatever content that I wanted to make, you know, whether it was art, animation, doing voices, or gaming. And that's when I started the original projects like the Pokemon Park and the Sonic stuff. And I decided to split the channels, the art and animation content, away from the gaming content, just so that, you know, people that just want the gaming content, that's where they can go to get it. And then I can still be free to work on art and animation. And a lot of that footage I still have, but it was on the old channel, which I had to move that content away just because a lot of the algorithms were still pointing out my art and animation channel as a gaming channel, which confused a lot of people. So in order to get it to start recognizing that my related channels would be art and animation focused, I had to take that content down. So I do have some of that footage. I don't know how I would best utilize it for this channel, but I'll try and think on it. Again, I would like to revisit those projects at some point. I just know it won't be anytime soon. It'll be down the road. So thank you so much for your question, and thank all of you for your questions. I really appreciate it. So we're actually getting closer towards the end of this build. Like I said, it's very outdoorsy at the moment, but I'm thinking, the more that I'm thinking on it, the more that I want some indoor elements as well. Especially to have like the penguin, and it would even be cool to see some of the penguins like animated, which would be really easy because they don't have a lot of movement, and that's the main problem I ran in with Wario and Waluigi. I kept making their movements very over the top and cartoonish with a lot of squash and stretch, and that took it didn't take a long time to do the animation, but just to kind of come up with the concept of what I wanted them to do. But with something like the penguins, it would literally just be them kind of just like waddling back and forth and then jumping onto like a pile of snow, and then from there I would just do like a line editor in Adobe Animate where you can draw an actual line and then tell an object to follow said line. So it would be pretty simple from there, and I think it would add a lot of character to this. The other reason why I want to do it indoors partly is because the way the ramp is made for this type of attraction means that you have a very limited point of view because the half pipe takes up so much space. So a lot of what would have to happen would either have to be on an incline, a decline, or above you, so that you would have a clear view of what is going on. I feel like this type of attraction is more just about the thrill of this half pipe experience where there are no rails. And again, I've watched videos and it looks very intriguing. The only thing that I think, this has been something I think a lot of people have brought up. I wish there was more alternatives to the ride vehicles themselves for customization beyond just color. I know they've recently, or not recently, but a while back, they added the ability to swap out different cars that utilize similar tracks. But I'm talking more like, hey, here's a themed version of this ride vehicle, which for this one are airplanes, and here's a generic one. Just because the airplane aesthetic for me doesn't really work with what I was trying to go for here, but it's, you know, you just kind of have to work with what you got. And I even think that of the ride vehicle that we have for Luigi's Mansion, it'd be really cool if there was a like horror rustic version of that ride system, just so you could utilize it for, you know, a more upbeat and happy rides or something like that, you know? So I think, so like I said, you just kind of have to work with what you got, and it's still fun. I'm really happy with how this is turning out, and I think this area is going to be a lot of fun, especially with the elevation changes, because you see the final little lap of the ride is sunk into the ground. So I think that'd be a cool opportunity to have like a bridge where people can kind of see this ride before they even get into the queue, which the queue is a lot of fun. I'm trying to space it out a little bit more just because I think Luigi's Mansion's queue is a little bit too long. But when I first opened that ride, like people were waiting outside of the ride itself because the line was getting so intense. So that's why I kept extending it further and further and building it more maze-like inside of the attraction as well. So I think this has been a good balance. One of the things I would like to do is make signs that have like standby and then like the fast pass or whatever we call. I think what did I call it? The power-up pass or something like that. I think that's what I called it. I don't know. It's been a while since I've worked on those illustrations. So now you can see that I'm implementing the second hill into this attraction. And again, you'll see a lot of back and forth as I'm trying to figure it out. Or no, this isn't even the second hill. This is the remake of the first hill. So I went back and looked at some videos of how this ride is more... what's the best word? The track layout of these rides is very like pushed together. The ride doesn't go very far outside of itself. It likes to be very condensed inside. So I decided to redo that and kind of make it more accurate to its real world counterpart. And then from here is when I add the second chain lift, which allows me for more blocking sections, which means that when we actually do start riding this ride, it's not stopping in weird places, and that I can add more vehicles to it, or more cars, just because I don't think 2 would suffice. So this has been a really fun learning experience, just trying to get this right, because it's been a while since I've made like a full-on coaster. I feel like I spend a lot more time doing scenery elements than I do coaster elements, which is why I think in the future I want to do like more mini projects. And I've got a few in the works. I've been talking to some fellow Planet Coaster creators on what we can do in a collaborative sense. And I think there's some really cool opportunities there in the future. So yeah. You'll see that I'm going to start building out the second chain lift here as we build the second, I guess we can call them mountains, because I do want to theme these to be more mountains in the future, which I don't know if I'm going to record all of that, just because terraforming can be kind of a lengthy process, and there's a lot of camera movement involved, and so I try to always keep a good sense of, you know, hey, the camera's moving a lot in this area of the video, or I feel that this is going to be way too hectic, chaotic for a video, just because it's sped up to 700 and I don't want anybody to get a headache from watching this. So I do cut from time to time when I notice that I'm having to really like move the camera around a lot. So if you ever see jump cuts, that's 9 out of 10. That's the reason why. And even when I do stop recording to allow XSplit to process what I had just captured, I'll go in and just do like little things, like add a couple little minor details that I noticed while the footage was processing. So yeah, we're getting close to the end of this video, and I think at the end of this I will throw in an on-ride look at this project so far. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and like I said, I think I'm pretty sure the next video that you'll see from the Mario Park is going to be the Wario Waluigi animation, which I'm really looking forward to, because again, it's a combo between both channels where you can see the animation process, and not only in 2D, but kind of a 3D aspect with the coin animation. So I'm really excited to share that with you all, and I look forward to chatting with you on the next video. Until then, bye!